notes for everyone. All right, well, let's go ahead and start. Good afternoon, everybody. This is our very first virtual pitch day, so bear with me here. So the primary goal of this pitch day is to kind of showcase all of the startups at Hero City and help them get feedback from the VCs on what they're working on. And so I think everyone is aware of who's going first because I sent everyone a list of the order. Hopefully everyone saw that. Basically, everyone will have 3 minutes to pitch, and I have a timer here, so I'll be timing you, and then you'll hear the my phone. If you hear this, then that means your time is up. And then we'll have 2 minutes for a Q&A/feedback session from the VCs. And then everyone can share, or the speaker, whoever's speaking, will share their screen so everyone can see their pitch decks. Any questions? All right. Well, we can go ahead.
This is Ricky. Is there a structure around how the judges should be asking questions?
No, so basically just provide feedback and like insights, whatever you.
Okay.
Yeah, so there's no structure.
Gotcha. So just unmute and ask the question.
Yes.
Got it.
Awesome. Should I start?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Hi, my name is Tariq Al-Jaber, CEO and co-founder of Basit.ai. I have my co-founder and CTO Bahab and James on the call as well to help me answer some of your questions. So what we do in Basit.ai is an AI as a service. If I put it in a short sentence, we're like Twilio for AI. We're a platform to enable developers and businesses to add out-of-the-box extensible AI capabilities. They can find those AI capabilities and add them to their existing application to empower them with AI. We offer a pre-built application, pre-trained models, and we also help them deploy at a scale. No data science or DevOps skills required. So what is the problem that we're solving? Scaling with AI is currently not a possibility for most businesses due to the shortage of data scientists, complex AI infrastructure, and lack of developer tools. So we're a horizontal platform to enable those developers to build those AI applications, but we're seeding the platform. Let me jump into actually show you a demo of the platform on that second. Perfect. So when you land on Basit, you will get into 2 tabs: new application and pre-built application. For a new application, we have a tight integration with notebooks, so you can take actually a notebook that data scientists have built for a prototype to production. We help them in a few clicks. And then we have integration with GitHub, where you can actually import your code, and we visualize this code on the fly. And we have built a visual app builder. For a pre-built application, as you see, we focus on 2 different verticals, media and retail. So if those that we've seen, we're continue to see the platform, we are going to be building, finance, agriculture. So if you click on the media, for instance, you can select the AI capabilities that you'd like. Those are the few that we've added so far. Those AI capabilities, for instance, face recognition, object detection, image style transfer, comment classification. So let me take this as an example. Let's say I came in, I'm a business, and I want to add, object detection to my application. I can simply click on it, and I will land on this form. And this form, we're the only company actually exposing the model or the algorithm as a form where anyone, even my 9-year-old, can input, can run it easily. So, for instance, object detection to detect an element in the image. For instance, I have this image, and I want to detect the elephant in it. So as you see, there's input and output, and we're giving you a JSON representation of that as well, so you can embed it. And here I selected the elephant, and I click run, and this is the output that I get. So you see, like it will actually select the elephant in the image. And not only that, so now the output is giving me the output as a JSON file that I can embed it into, that I can parse it through my code, and APIs. So boom, if I want to actually add this to my application, I don't need to build anything. I can just copy this API and integrate it into my existing application. We're offering Python, Node.js, PHP. But let's say, hey, you know what? I want to learn how did Basit build this application. I click on open the application, and you see behind the scene a complete visual representation of this. So you don't have to. You can look at those nodes, and an application is a collection of nodes. We've built actually, not only that, for instance, where right now, if you want to learn how these nodes were constructed, you double click on it, and you see the code behind each one of them. So we have a suite of developer tools, including an online code editor where you can actually plot on the fly while you're coding. You can add collaborators, you can and contributors to this. You can fork it, you can share it with others. And with Baha built a really sophisticated compiler, AI-powered compiler to parse all this stuff and compile it. And you can generate application from this. Another example, for instance, if you look at this is a 3D photography, and it's.
You want to watch these pitches? They're 3 minutes long.
I'm sorry, what?
So I think your 3 minutes are up. Hey, so what I'm thinking is give us the examples of how people are using it in retail, and then how will they use it in finance?
So in retail, let me give you an example on retail. For instance, the sentiment analysis is one of the examples that people would use this. So for instance, when you land on Basit here, you could get like a sentiment analysis and an insight into how people are feeling about your business. So,
right, but you have retail? You have customers in media and retail, right? Already?
We're still actually we have 140 users, not customers, that they're using this currently, developers. But we're still in the discovery phase right now. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So regarding finance, you can actually build a trading bot on top of this. Actually, I've built my own trading bot on top of it.
Hi, Tariq.
I think that'll be the big what do you think the big application's going to be that makes you guys a $1 billion business?
So all the businesses right now, so we're a marketplace. We want to empower data scientists to share their applications and monetize them on our platform, and we enable them to do that. And it's a freemium model, and there's a revenue sharing there. We're 70-30%. So we monetize based on API calls. If we look at some of the competitors out there, they're not doing even a third of what we're doing. One of them is, for instance, Algorithmia. They're $100 million valuation, and they raised $35 million, and they have developers and data science. They're focusing more on data scientists, and they've built a few APIs, and they're being used as well. Another Scale AI, they're doing object detections, and it's $1 billion company. So yeah.
That's great. Thank you. I think we got to move on to the next one.
Thank you.
Who's up?
Sorry,
I'm up over
Laura,
here.
you're
Mark,
muted.
yes.
Hey, I'm going to share my screen really quick. You guys see it? Can you guys hear me well?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so we all know what microlearning is, but what we're working on is helping people learn mindfulness and meditation through nano learning. I'll show you that in a second. When it comes to our team, I have a pretty unique experience. I spent the last 6.5 years working at Founder Institute, helping startups in over 40 industries. And what I've found is that the wellness industry is going to change all other industries. There's a lot of advancements within science that are going to change things. And actually my work at Founder Institute to push that forward has influenced them to add wellness components to their global curriculum. Through this, I've built my team here. Charles has over 11 years of experience delivering creative wellness therapies. DJ has been working in the wellness space for quite some time. He's built many apps. What brings us all together is that we all have a very special relationship with wellness. And that's what makes us passionate about this space. We're solving the perception around mindfulness and meditation from a general standpoint, right? So there's low retention rates with apps in general, and many people find meditation to be time consuming, but when you actually get into it, you save more time by clearing out all the negative thoughts in your mind, for one example. There are also hundreds, maybe even thousands of apps in this space. What we're doing is we actually don't use an app, and I'll get into that in a second. And you can learn through our platform in seconds a day. And we actually have a pretty high retention rate right now. We have 91% retention rate since March 2019. Our product is very simple, so bear with me as I go through some examples here. We essentially deliver high quality content structured through text messages. And it's very simple from the user standpoint, but it gets more complex from the back end. This is an example. I'm going to go through 3 examples of our most engaging types of content given these out there. So we provide a lot of science-based evidence behind our recommendations. This is one example. For in our first week, we cover the concept of deep breathing, and this is a foundational practice to mindfulness and meditation. So imagine receiving 1 text a day, Monday through Friday, reinforcing this concept of deep breathing. We go into exercises, people can respond, and we go into more detail. We can strike conversations with people. We also provide encouragement. Everyone needs some encouragement once in a while. So what's the competition look like? Nobody out there is really doing what we're doing in the text-based space. Shine Text used to do it, but they moved towards an app. Headspace has the most robust notification system, but it's not structured like what we're doing. So our traction is interesting. We have 28% growth month over month. Our conversion rate is small. It's very conservative right now at 6.9%. But we do have a really awesome retention rate. Most of our team spends our time focusing on the content. In terms of the market, is that 3 minutes?
Yeah. So we'll have to cut to how do you make money?
$5 a month subscription.
And how many, has anybody started to pay yet, or is it still premium?
Yes, we have 13 paid users, and we have 172 total people getting text every day.
And what's the feedback from the users?
We're working on that. They love it. When we missed a text, we're getting people saying, "Where's my text of the day?" What we're focused on right now.
One text per day that they get.
Yes, and they can reply
and one
back.
says breathe, and one says smile, and one says, they just keep changing it.
It's a little bit more complex than that. We put a lot of effort into making sure that every single word that we send somebody is going to deliver them value.
Where's the barrier to entry? There are a lot of people who can just do this, can't they?
Our team is very focused on working on our content. So we spend a lot of time looking at the new advancements within what's going on in science. So we believe that our perspective is actually our biggest defensible part of our business. So our voice, our content is what we're developing. So people are going to get used to hearing from us rather than everyone else.
Terrific. Anybody else with questions?
Else?
I'll just add a comment. I think it's great that you're doing text-based. I think that's a trend that some VCs are seeing, where it moves from app-based notifications to text. And I think there's a lot of data showing that people are more engaged through SMS. So I know there are some VC firms that look specifically for SMS-based businesses. So I think that's an interesting way you're tackling this.
Thank you.
And calm has become a big business. So you might be onto something.
We think so too.
I have a question. I'll start here from Draper University. Hey.
Sure, hi.
So my question is around, so I've seen a few of these, not in this place in particular, but more around education. So like coding or other things, especially on SMS and WhatsApp. After a while, people just mute it. So how do you build that stickiness or usability into this? Because on apps, you can still like kind of monitor usage and everything.
Yep. So we're building that into our tech to see who reads our texts. And this is also part of our content. We spend a lot of time seeing who's responding, and we create these texts and we measure response rates. So right now, based on the content, which I don't think we have the best content we have right now, but we're getting anywhere from 5 to 30% response rates per text message that we send out.
Okay. And then have you done any cohort analysis on that to see what's the, how does this rate, like, where does it stay for a while, or?
It's the average is probably around 10% response rate. I can get a better answer for you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mark. And now we have Tito up next with Go Negative.
Hey, everybody. Let's see. Boom. Hey, nice to see you all. So I'm Tito. I'm from Negative, and I'm one of the great members at Hero City. So what we're working on is hundreds of our customers have told us that they are frustrated about climate change, and it's not that they're frustrated that it's happening. They're frustrated because they feel powerless, right? We've grown up our entire lives being told that we need to recycle, we need to compost, we need to vote, and just those things aren't visible. They don't seem like they're having a real impact. So what we're doing at Negative is making climate change tangible. We sold 600 of these bracelets on Kickstarter made of carbon dioxide pulled directly from the atmosphere. They were sold for about $100 each. And they look like this. So the beads are made using carbon dioxide captured directly from the air. We work with a company called Climeworks that has a direct air capture machine that's able to pull carbon molecules out of the air, and then we process it and turn it into consumer products. So the first was a bracelet. We also had a proof of concept product that was a planter that sold out in an hour. And each product is made of carbon dioxide pulled from the air, which makes it carbon negative. So if every product was made this way, we'd actually be able to reverse climate change in 14 years. So there's a ton of potential impact there, all in the format of something that's tangible and real. And that's what we've seen from our customers as something that makes this different. This is different than an idea or different than a thing you're supposed to do. We've got a team of two, myself and Ari, who's also on the line. We started out as, just like our customers. We were frustrated about climate change, and we were trying to figure out what can we do to be part of the solution. So I started a community called Air Miners, which is the world's largest group of scientists, entrepreneurs, and engineers who are mining carbon from the air. So a lot of those connections and partnerships are helpful for what we're doing with Negative. And Ari formerly designed the future at Institute for the Future. So with Negative, we're really combining together kind of this futuristic magic and real technology that's coming from technologists. So our question or our ask today was, it's around strategy. So it's around, we're building this consumer goods brand. We've sold 600 of these bracelets for about $100 each through Kickstarter. We're trying to better understand, should we continue designing and marketing new products while we license technology, or should we move more into the technology era and make sure to build our own technology stack? So that's where we could use some perspective. But that's Negative. We're taking climate change, we're making it tangible and real, so that people can instead of feeling frustrated, they can feel like they're doing something about climate change.
The material that comes off this, out of these air catchers that you use for these bracelets, is it, you get it for free from them?
We don't get it for free from them, but at the price that we're paying, it's really cheap to make something like a bracelet. It's more expensive if you're trying to offset like an industrial power plant or something like that. Like if you're really trying to take out a ton of carbon, it gets more expensive. But we're taking out carbon and then turning it into products.
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to figure out how you make money doing this.
Yeah, so the materials, the carbon material in each bracelet costs about $1. And so really it comes down to then processing the material into products and then connecting that to the customer.
And have you done a carbon neutral test on that? Because you require energy to build the bracelet.
Yeah, totally. So every bracelet that we sold was 2x carbon negative, which means that we've calculated the manufacturing and usage and shipping of all of it. Then we add that up, and then we actually pay to not only take carbon and turn it into a product, but we also take carbon and then have it buried underground in Iceland where it fuses with the rock in Iceland. So your product is made of carbon from the air, and it's also paying to remove even more carbon from the air.
So it costs you $1 to make, and you can sell them for $100?
That was, yeah, with our initial Kickstarter batch, the carbon in it costs about $1. Once you start manufacturing, once you start shipping, you just start multiplying. And so I think overall our bill of materials for the bracelet is $15 or so after all the packaging and the other parts to it.
Yeah, and packaging, you may actually be carbon not neutral on the packaging. And
that's all in there, all the packaging, all the manufacturing, all the shipping. Okay. Shipping is huge, by the way. Shipping is actually the biggest carbon emission of the entire process.
You know, I think, yeah, it'd be cheaper for the environment to just ship virtual bracelets or something.
Yeah, really.
But I think this is sort of, you know, it's sort of fashion and trendy, but it doesn't seem like it's a global trend. I think I would, you know, it's kind of a nice, interesting, you know, fun thing to do. You'll learn a lot from running the business, but I don't think it's going to be a big monster success. And it isn't because you're not doing a good thing. It's that these will be kind of interesting for people, and then they'll wear them, and then that'll be it. And then they'll go, okay, I don't want to wear it anymore. So it's kind of going to come and go, unless you can think through that this is the beginning of a new fashion trend that's all about the idea that, you know, everything that we wear is carbon that comes out of the air or something.
That's right, and that's kind of where we're going with it, where we've prototyped different products like shoes and shirts and other things that we can make out of carbon materials.
If it's shoes, they've got to be better than the shoes that exist. I'm not going to wear carbon, as much as I'd love for the environment to be cleaned up. I'm not going to wear carbon neutral shoes if they're not great and comfortable and I can run in them and whatever else.
Yeah, they have to be basically better than
they got to be better
shoes.
Than what's there. In fact, that's true with all of these things. You know, the Tesla, that wasn't going to be better. That had to be better than the other cars. It couldn't just be better for the environment. It had to be better than the other cars. And I even know that all these people who go around saying, oh, you know, the world's coming to an end because of carbon, even they wouldn't buy the Tesla. Even if they could afford it, they wouldn't buy the Tesla until it came down to the prices of the smaller, more compression. What's that? Whatever.
Combustion engine.
The old kind, combustion cars.
Yeah, I totally hear that. That's, you know, when we created the brand, we thought about how do we get away from the, you know, the environmental I think that the brand of environmental products is usually pretty simple. It's uglier, it performs worse, and it's less useful. So when we were designing this bracelet and some of our other products, we were thinking about how do we make this basically better, faster, and stronger than what's out there already? Because otherwise, it's not exactly like the Tesla case. It's not it's not enough if it's just good for the environment.
Well, thank you, Tito.
Is the way that you form the carbon or extract carbon from the air proprietary to you guys, like negative? Or
it's not proprietary to us. We license that, and we work with another company.
Yeah, I was just thinking if it was, there's potentially a business model like Gore-Tex, where Gore-Tex works with Under Armour to, use their fabric in Under Armour shirts and, yoga pants and whatnot. But yeah.
Yeah, totally. That's something that we're curious about, is more on the technology side. So what we're doing is definitely innovating on the processing of the carbon. And maybe that's where there's kind of a room for a Gore-Tex kind of play, where it's you're not necessarily inventing the foundational technology, but you're iterating on it and kind of changing it to make it useful for consumer goods.
Terrific. Well, thank you, Tito. We'll move on to the next one.
Thank you. Yes. Up next we have Spyglass. So Rohan or Niraja.
Nirja might be muted.
Sorry about that. You're good. Sorry about that. Can you hear me now?
Yep, we hear you.
Okay, great. Hi, everybody. My name is Nirja Musin, and I'm the founder of a startup called Spyglass. Spyglass is a customer retention solution built for the insurance industry. We use machine learning to predict when a business is going to lose customers before they actually lose them, along with insights on influencers and key retention levers. And this type of early intervention can save insurance companies millions, even for the smaller ones. Now, insurance is a really old industry, and it has the highest customer acquisition cost of any industry. But paradoxically, it also has this sell it and forget it model. And they lose millions every year in lapsed policies, but for some reason, they've never really focused on customer retention. And I see this as a big opportunity. We have a presence in Hartford, Connecticut, which is the insurance capital of the world. We're an insurtech incubator, access and introductions, to travelers, the Hartford. And this thing, we have office space here for 3 years. It's called the Boat Building. It's an iconic part of Hartford's landscape. And if you saw it, it would just take your breath away. But anyways, we're really plugged into that insurtech ecosystem. We've had all the ups and downs of, every early stage startup, but last year we turned a corner, which is we closed our first paid pilot, a major Hartford-based life insurer. And it's called the Phoenix Companies. They're actually owned by a holding company called Nassau Re. They're so old, they actually insured Abraham Lincoln. We delivered a successful pilot in December last year, and having proven value through the pilot, we closed and converted to a long-term relationship, which is a $25,000 annual contract, and then an additional, what we're calling a performance bonus, which could be anything from $10,000 to $100,000 for the year, depending on how well we do. This is the team, me, the founder, David, the data scientist, and Rohan, the CTO. Interesting fact about Rohan, he was founding engineer at a Hero City startup, funded by Draper Associates, and we were actually introduced by Jeanette. So some beautiful Hero City karma there. My advisory board, not all of them, just the 3 guys in front. Leader of a think tank, C-suite executive, retired CEO. Collectively, they bring more than 100 years of insurance industry experience to Spyglass. I'd like to close with this thought. It can cost 5 times as much to get a new customer than to keep an existing one. This is a really old rule of thumb. It's been around for a long time. But in our current environment, it's truer than ever. With social distancing, you're going to see companies already happening in the insurance world refocus on monetizing their existing assets, which is their current customer base. And tools that help with retention and engagement, we believe, are going to be a new priority in our new normal, which puts us in a really good position to keep moving forward. And with that, I'll say thank you, stop sharing, and open it up for questions.
Terrific. Well, that was a great presentation, very clear. So you've done this before. I think it's nice. It's a good, nice business. You will be selling OEM, selling to just insurance companies, puts you at a little bit of a disadvantage because they can gang up against you or squeeze you down or just take too much of your time. Your business is teaching them to make customer acquisition cheap, but it's going to be very expensive for you to sell those customers. And I like the businesses where you can somehow get through to the end user. Is there some connection once you've sold to the insurance company where you can sell then through the insurance company to the end user? I think that, because once you have the end user, then your business can be much, much bigger.
That's a great question. So let me take this current customer that we just closed with as an example. So it's a life insurance company. They sell life and annuities. A lot of their sales happens through their agents, so third-party distributors. I think the pandemic has really shaken them to the core because they sort of dragged their heels on digital transformation. And now what they're finding is their agents are not selling any because of social distancing. And so there's this move, not just for this particular company, but all the other companies I've been speaking to in Hartford, to have more direct contact with the consumer and sort of have more control of their revenue and their current customer base. So this program that I'm going to be working on is going to be all about direct to consumer. So we're going to be using our software to help this company build better relationships directly with its existing customers. So
and you can jump over the company and sell those customers something else later.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
so
that's how you'll get there. Then you could build this into a pretty good business.
Thank you.
I think we got another minute per question.
Yeah, I have one. Thank you, guys. So insurance companies likely have CRM systems. They may be recently developed ones like Salesforce. They may have antiquated ones using Excel and so on and so forth. What are some specific product features that you have on your platform that are specific to insurance and unique to this mission of retaining insurance customers?
So the first thing I'll say is there's a lot of big companies out there, that Gainsight or Tatango, Natero, that sort of focused on the SaaS software space and became really, really successful, and then sort of turned their sights to insurance, saying, we think there's a real market for us there, but it hasn't really worked for them. I think the insurance industry really wants solutions that are built from the ground up for their specific use cases. And that's kind of what I'm doing. So, I'm tackling life insurance first and saying, I'm building a solution for you through a pilot that is specific to you, to your vertical, but to your micro vertical. So I'm going to do the same for P&C, for property and casualty. And there's two other verticals that I haven't even talked about that are sort of a phase two. So one is investment management, retail advisory, and the other is retail banking. And I think my approach is, these are industries that want solutions that are built specifically for them, and I'm building it from the ground up, if that answered your question.
And could you give us a flavor of what is a specific feature on your product that is so specific to life insurance? I'm just trying to get a sense of what that differentiation might look like. Okay, so I'll start with something that might sound really silly to you, but it actually matters in this industry. So life, when they lose a customer, they call it lapse. And everything is about lapse. It's about, actual versus project. All their metrics are about lapse, lapse, lapse.
P&C, property and casualty, they call it non-renewal. And everything, it's like all their language, all their metrics, all reports. So even just starting with using the language that's really specific to that industry, you have no idea how much that sort of resonates with them. That's just one little example, but obviously there's a lot more than that. It's sort of tailoring the language, the user experience, the whole process to, it's a 300-year-old industry. You know, if you use non-renewal with a life insurer, it's like, ooh, you know, we don't know about you. I don't think you get us.
Understood.
So that's kind of my point.
Understood. No, I think that is critically important. Thank you.
Sure.
Sarah Shoemaker's got a really nice mask on there, clearly keeping herself away from COVID. Okay, who's next? Who's up next?
All right, we have Tribal next. Sanjeev, are you on?
Yes, I am.
Okay, cool.
Hi, everyone. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Awesome. Just go into full screen mode here. All right. Hi, everyone. My name is Sanjeev Somani. I'm the founder CEO of Tribal. Tribal stands for Tribal Knowledge. Saurabh, my co-founder that you see on the page there, and I started Tribal right at Hero City 2 years ago, pretty much at this point. The inspiration for Tribal came from my time at Salesforce, where I helped scale sales for one of their product lines from $200 million to over $1 billion in my 5 years there. Which brings me to the problem statement, what we're doing. So over the last 20 years, sales tools have been focused on really helping the manager with activity tracking. They haven't really been built for the rep. To succeed at enterprise sales today, our assertion is reps need to sell the problem first and then the product. The challenge is selling the problem effectively requires deep domain expertise. But how does a rep become a domain expert overnight, especially when they're selling across dozens of different industries, personas, and use cases? No wonder, and some of this stat may be a surprise to some of you, is 1 in 2 reps miss their quota today, and the problem is only getting worse. My experience at Salesforce taught me that tribal knowledge is the key, and that reps really do learn best when they learn from each other. At the same time, there's a lot of friction involved in capturing and sharing tribal knowledge. For one, reps are not motivated to spend time documenting their insights. And while there is gold buried in all kinds of digital communication, whether it's call recordings, emails, or documents, finding the insight that you need when you need it is just as hard. That brings me to the value prop of Tribal. In a nutshell, we help reps become domain experts from day one. We enable peer-to-peer learning in real time and at scale. At the heart of Tribal is a self-learning playbook. Using proprietary algorithms, Tribal codifies the buying journey behind every win and loss by mining emails, calls, notes, any data that we can get. We sort of call it the digital exhaust of deals. This knowledge is then pushed just in time in all workflows and systems. For example, Tribal coaches Rep A on which pain point to bring up with Bank of America's CIO on a call based on similar wins in the past. With our Outreach partnership, so we signed up a partnership with Outreach, a pretty popular sales engagement platform late last year. We are able to deliver ROI within 60 days. Here are some proof points from one of our customers, WalkMe. We dynamically customize prospecting emails, leading to higher open and response rates. Cold calls have converted at up to 70% higher in just a month of switching on Tribal. An investment in Tribal from a customer's perspective, therefore, is a no-brainer, particularly now when sales teams have gone 100% remote, making knowledge sharing even harder. Think there is no more water cooler to kind of gather around and share knowledge. I'm particularly proud of our NPS, 8 on 10, validating that we are really getting it right for the audience we focused on, which is the sales rep. We have a growing pipeline. We have MongoDB. We signed up as an annual contract. We are in active negotiation with WalkMe for a 100-user contract. And as you will see here, the pattern in all these logos is there are horizontal SaaS companies, 200 plus employees. That's sort of our ICP at this point. In terms of how we make money, so we have several different SKUs. Our strategy is land and expand. We either enter through the SDR organization or through sales enablement. And on the back of our proprietary playbook data, we are able to expand to all sales teams and even post-sales teams over time. We are actively raising our Series seed round. We think by raising about $3 to $4 million, we'll secure a runway of 24 months, which will be comfortably setting us up for a Series A by end of next year. Some of our existing investors are listed there, including DNX, who wrote us a check earlier this year. Thanks.
Hey, great. You got money from one of the hero cities.
That's right. Hoping to shake the tree more, but that's right.
Yeah, that's terrific. So you do this. What's the incentive for a salesperson to share their knowledge with other salespeople? Just keeping their job, or is there something in it for them? Salespeople are very much tied to, very focused on their commissions and their income.
That's absolutely right. So actually part of what I was saying is we tried at Salesforce to sort of appeal to the goodness of sales reps to do what you said, but as always, nothing came back. And so the whole idea behind Tribal is we directly plug into communication happening between sales teams and customers, right? And so we grab hold of emails, we plug into Gmail, we grab hold of Salesforce and other data. And we sort of
the company does this company-wide. The salespeople don't individually have to sign up for it.
No.
I see.
No. So that's the whole point. We try and take away the friction between capturing, codifying knowledge on the one side, and on the other side, push those insights just in time wherever the rest are.
And you've got 100 users. Are they each paying about $40 or $60 a month?
Right. So we are actually, with WalkMe, we are expanding to 100 users. We are currently in contract negotiation given the budget freeze and all. Part of what we are doing is trying to flip into a 2-year contract where year 1 is sort of a pass and year 2 we true up. And with WalkMe, we just...
Your revenues so far, what are your revenues so far?
Yeah, so with MongoDB, we just signed an annual contract for $25,000, and then we are expanding out from there.
So that's your first customer?
First paying customer, that's right.
Yeah.
That's right. And, you know, we've been sort of navigating a crowded landscape. So for us, getting to MVP, the viable part of MVP was equally important, right? So we had to navigate through a bunch of tools, generate proof points. So now 2020 for us is the year to go. So we want to kind of accelerate our go-to-market and our R&D at this point.
Terrific. Well, thanks for tapping in here. Who's up next?
Thanks, Sanjeev. We have Enline
Sure.
next.
Yes. Okay, let me share my screen. Hi, can you guys see my screen?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. Hi guys, my name is Enlai Chu and I'm the founder of Phonic, and we make your mobile calls productive. So mobile calls have been around for decades and are ubiquitous today, but they're controlled by the mobile operator. So they're designed for the average consumer and extremely basic. Trying to capture and manage the most important part of your calls, the information itself, is a manual and tedious process because there are no features and integrations with any of the applications that you use in your workflow. So take the workflow of a sales rep. When somebody calls, they need to scramble through their notes and open up their CRM to try to remind them who's this person who's calling, because they don't have this information stored in their personal address book and personal mobile device. And they're unable to focus on the call itself because they're trying to capture all this information that this customer is telling them, because afterwards, their managers want them to create new leads and enter information into the CRM after every call. So what we've done is we've basically unlocked the cell phone channel and enhanced it with new features and applications, starting with telephony features and coming up with conversational intelligence features, in-call assistance, as well as integrations with applications like Salesforce and Slack. So let me show you a quick example of what this looks like. So the workflow is, it's a regular mobile call you're gonna get. you get a screen pop very much like you would on a desktop computer. And you can see the Salesforce information. And when you answer the call, it immediately brings you into the context where you can take notes for this specific caller, like sending more information, things like I need to do. I can also have a bot that's listening to me try to take notes for me. So notice I didn't type that. Or I can actually hit a button and record a note, a voice note, during the call itself without the other person hearing me. Now, with a single tap, I'll be able to log my note to Salesforce. So I never have to context switch between applications on my mobile. I can create things like to-do items so that I'm able to look and refer to this note the next time this person calls. And we even bring the entire Salesforce platform into the app. So again, it's a seamless application during your call that you never have to leave or use a laptop for. We're first targeting the business market with 96 million mobile workers, starting with the field sales reps, 3 million of them. We are factoring a $30 a month price point for a $1 billion market, followed by solopreneurs, business owners, financial, and real estate. So the team itself, I've been in telecom for 20 years. My last company was acquired by Skype, and we've assembled a team of experts in mobile, sales, and AI to bring the product to market. Just to summarize, we have a patent pending technology that unlocks the cell phone channel and enhances it with new features. We're the first productivity hub connecting the mobile calls with new features as well as business workflows, so you have a seamless experience when you're working on your calls. We've raised $1 million, and we're currently looking for another 1 to 2 million in our seed round. And that's us, Phonik.
Boy, that's terrific. It's the kind of thing I'm always looking for. You may want to connect with our company, Otter, because when I make a call, I record it on Otter, and it does a transcription. And
yes.
And I think this would dovetail pretty well into Otter. I don't know, they may just want to use some of your features, or they may say this is a good thing to like build into everything that they're doing.
Yeah, absolutely.
How are you going to sell it? That's the big question. It's hard to get the word out.
Yeah, so 3 channels. So we have a bottom-up self-serve approach where you can download the app, try it for yourself, and if you like it, you can just start subscribing to it. The second is top-down, so these will be enterprise sales outbound to VP of sales for any type of company that has CRM as well as a sales team. And the third is through partners that would be Salesforce App Store, HubSpot App Store, as well as channel partners like resellers and system integrators for these CRM companies. So all these companies are our friends because we enable the CRM to be used more at a time when nobody wants to update the CRM, and that's the biggest problem that they have.
Is there any incentive for your customer to become your Salesforce?
Ultimately, yeah.
Spread the word.
Yes. Absolutely, because every call is greeted by our assistant. So that's actually a viral channel for us. When we record calls, if people choose to record their calls, we actually keep them compliant and legal by disclosing it, much like you would call a business today. And they say calls are recorded for training or quality purposes. We actually do this automatically for users, and that actually turns into a viral channel for us.
Terrific. Anybody else have a question?
Do you think you would I'll just ask one quick question. Do you think you'll integrate with Zoom?
Yeah, so Zoom is great for planned meetings. We are actually taking the other side of it, which are the ad hoc calls. We do help people to record Zoom meetings if they want to right now, even though they don't have, they don't own the Zoom meeting. So typically today you would be able to record a Zoom meeting if it's your own meeting or if the other person has given you permission to do so. We enable you to automatically dial in and record it very much like you would if it was your own meeting. And we actually make this super easy because a lot of times you don't get the dial-in link with your phone number. Our app finds the call-in number automatically for you so that you can call in using your phone. And this way you're not stuck at your computer if you need to, be in your car or mobile when you're dialed into a Zoom meeting. So the answer is yes.
How many people are paying you the $30 a month?
So we just started selling. So it's actually a really technically difficult problem to get into the cell phone calls. Our first app is an iOS app because the first question that people ask is yes, but can you do it on iOS? So the answer is yes. And so we completed the product and we're actually just starting to sell. So as of last week, we're starting to install it on people's phones, and creating pilot customers.
This is Ricky from DNX. How likely do you think it is for like a dial pad or a Talk IQ to go into this space?
Yeah. So as I mentioned before, it's actually quite challenging to get into the cell phone call. So I've been in VoIP since 2000. So I guess it's 20 years. And it's taken not just the traditional VoIP telephony, but a combination of application side as well as server side working in concert with the mobile network features to get into the cell phone call. And the challenging part was to build a solution that didn't require any mobile operator integration. So we didn't want to have to deal with mobile operators to get into their network because as we all know that takes forever. So our solution is a downloadable app that basically sets you up and you're able to do that. So it's actually quite difficult to do and we've got a couple of patents pending for that.
Got it.
Great. Let's get the next group up. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Up next is Sarah with Cloudless.
Hi, there's the Captain Phasma here.
Hi, Sarah. That's quite a costume you got on.
Thank you. Well, I actually do Vader normally, but I couldn't breathe, so I decided to do Phasma today. Hi again, my name is Sarah Shoemaker, and I'm the founder and storyteller of Cloudless, or actually known as the Star Wars girl at Hero City. Let me share my screen, and unfortunately you're gonna have to see my face mask off because I seriously cannot see anything. Let's see. All right, can everybody see my PowerPoint?
Yes.
Oh, it's a big black, there you go.
Okay, so Project Cloudless, let's start with the problem. 75% of young people today between the age of 25 to 33 years old are suffering from quarter-life crisis. That is approximately 55 million young professionals, specifically known as the Generation Y or the Millennials. Millennials with a fixed mindset, as you can see on the screen, are known to struggle with anxiety or loss of drive. And they feel unheard, unacknowledged, and unappreciated. For those who overcome the struggle or never had a crisis, instead have this growth mindset where they feel tenacious, resilient, and confident. And there are many differences between the fixed and growth mindsets, and having our users achieve this mindset is our goal. This is where us, the Project Cloudless, come in. Cloudless is a multi-platform entertainment ecosystem for socially deprived professionals, young professionals, that increases emotional resilience and mental preparedness through metacognitive role-playing experiences, or we call it the MCRPE. So basically, it's about an individual thinking about their own thought process in order to attain a never sweat it attitude, no matter what happens in your life. Now, you see here a couple of branches within the project, including our beta run in the background of a real-life pop-up adventure space we did last year in Tokyo and San Francisco. But today we're going to talk about the Hernalog House game, our very first step in our project. So we've already talked about the common struggles of Gen Y, or aka the millennials. Let's talk about some other similarities that they or we have. They seek community, are value-oriented, and they want to be relevant. So if you wanted to engage the millennials or the Gen Ys, the points in blue, our content has to be entertaining, engaging, collaborative, and timeless. Now, a 2019 study conducted by the UC London showed that the level of enjoyment achieved by playing games can relieve daily stress more significantly and effectively compared to the chore-like tasks given by mindful apps. And basically, Project Cloudless is striving to build something that's long-lasting, to be shared among all generations. We build an epic quest, an excitement, something indomitable to turn the I have to I want to. Now let's talk about the game flow here. So I talked about the MCRPE, which I actually, we have built as a team. It doesn't exist elsewhere. This game is set to take place in a fantasy tavern in a world called Cloudless, based on a book of our own making. It will be developed using our MCRP game engine. So basically, this is how it goes on. The users immerse themselves into a fantasy location, first step of metacognition, then control their projected self in a dimension we call the mini quest, the second step of metacognition and role play. Now, Hurling House contains numerous scenarios in order for individuals to develop self-confidence within the real world. As of today, we have at least 12 years worth of content, main quests and side quests available for use. This is designed to be unique, and it does not mention, this is something that has never been done before. And it is a new gameplay that we're actually trying to develop as well. So before the market strategy, Gen Ys and millennials are known as the first generation to become lifelong gamers. Research shows that their generation spend more time and money on games than any other generation. So where do they spend their time? Places like Twitch, Reddit, Instagram, and Twitter. And also as a young professional, they're also avid users of webinars and podcasts. So what are we offering? We have everything from basic gaming pack, expansion packs, DLC companion app, the HH Online app, and here are the average prices that we're asking for based on in comparison with our other competitors, such as Dungeons and Dragons, Cards Against Humanities, and so on. Here's our roadmap. Basically, we're targeting to build a offline game and then an online supplemental app, then an online standalone game application, and then also to the XR community in the future. And right now, for this stage, we're asking for 1.4 million to cover the launch of our Hurling House tabletop game, as well as research and development of a supplementary app for the first year. And this is how we're actually projecting to grow over the time. Long-term map. So obviously we are not, our ultimate goal is to create a community or village for long-lasting effect, not just a game, but we're trying to make a village, a community out of this. MCRPE can be applied to many platforms, and this is where we shine. Our team. Project Cloudless is a team of highly creative nerds with over 25 years of experience in STEM education, engineering, finance, and psychology trying to change the world. We are passionate. We don't give up. We are known to build the things we love and what want from the ground up. Basically, we are trying to be the leaders of the next millennials, and we have all the backgrounds and experiences to make this happen. Thank you very much. And moving on to questions.
That's great. Is the game built, or are you in the process?
So the actual offline game is in process of making, but we actually did a marketing event last year in Tokyo and San Francisco. This was, as you can see, it's a little blurred, but we used up the entire location in Ginza. It's one of the big cities in Tokyo to do a first ever real life fantasy RPG experience. So again, the game mechanics are there, but right now we're trying to build that into from actual location into an offline, more reachable content to expand.
How does it? How does it compare to Dungeons and Dragons? It looks like a Dungeons and Dragons game.
So basically what Dungeons and Dragons don't do is the metacognition part. In D&D, what happens is that you immerse yourself immediately into the role-playing game world and you become the next character. But for us, we actually have the users go in the game as themselves and then move on to the other fantasy worlds as you go. This type of game mechanics does not exist elsewhere, and also allows the building of adaptability, flexibility, and also it does really help out with your mental health. Basically, you're projecting yourself into the other world, and then from that point on.
What's the idea of the game? What is it? What's it called? What is it going to be? What made you decide to, you know, if you're going to dedicate your life to making this game? It's got to, I mean, games are hits driven, very difficult to implement. Physical games, offline games, they're incredibly hard to get into people's hands.
Sure.
You know, that there are a lot of steps to getting this to be a big, you know, a big hit game.
And this is where our strength of content comes in. Again, Cloudless actually first started when I was 3 years old, and it was my imaginative playground. From that point on, it took me around 20 years to develop this content, this world line, by myself, and eventually became a bedtime story for my kids. When I first, actually, funny thing that you mentioned D&D too, is when I first started into the world of D&D, a lot of the players that I met were also millennials just starting to begin the D&D. And their comment was, D&D is wonderful, but we are actually looking for something new. We're looking for something that's more stickier. That's something, an epic quest that not just ourselves, but the entire community can actually build on together. Now, D&D offers a lot of campaigns, a lot of homebrew stories on the side. But what Cloudless have is that we actually have a long-term, kind of like a Harry Potter series or Star Wars series, or one main branch of a quest that everybody is actually going to tackle together while having countless of side quests together. And that's the kind of community that we're trying to make, is not just a game, but a community in a village that actually lasts for generations of time, that people can share, not with just their generation, but to share with other generations, to actually try to make the communication happen between those generations. And basically, these communities, these contents must be shareable without the stigma of what you're dealing with, the struggles or any negativities. And for example, in a time like this, with COVID and lockdown happening, after talking about, you know, how to deal with stress or how to deal with your life, the one thing people actually come down to was games. What can we actually do that we don't know of, that doesn't exist, that we can actually try it out while having fun with the others, not to be alone and isolated. And this is a community that we're trying to build.
And why don't you have a game out there? Or what, I mean, what's the hesitancy?
Basically,
you have the world created in your head.
Yeah.
This should just happen.
Yes. So first of all, until 4 years ago, I was a single mother. And basically I was actually working 3 full-time jobs to try to feed my children. And until I met my team, which actually all of us are 100% remote, and all of us have a full-time job right now because we can't afford anything else. We have this thing that if we have the fund, it can actually stand and run out in the next couple of months. This offline game is already almost, you know, the contents are getting ready. We have people that are waiting. It's just that we right now are trying to survive, feed our kids, feed ourselves with everything happening. We just, to be very upfront with you, we need the funding. And until this today, again, my husband has been dealing with, you know, laying off from work and everything. And this is the one thing that we have everything to actually take off, but just don't have the first, the Kickstarter that we can have, the first fuel that we need.
So you were a single mother, now you're a married.
I'm married. Yeah, I'm
mother.
happy.
Okay. Great. It just feels like, you know, nights and weekends, whatever, you'd put something together so you could start playing it.
Yes.
You know, games are a thing where you have to, they've got to be simple to learn and difficult to master. Yes. And they've got to be played over and over and over before people kind of go, okay, now we've got it. I think, and it doesn't have to be fancy or anything. It can be like cardboard pieces and, yes. But you got to just put something together, and then you start playing it over and over, and then you go, oh, okay, now we got something.
Yep, and this is
now
where we
ready.
are now. Yeah, so we've been playing over and over this for actually close to 2 years now, and that's why we're ready to take on the next step.
Oh, okay, so you didn't have time to show us the game, but at some point that would be a good thing to lead with, like, hey, we've been playing this game for 2 years, it's fun.
I actually started talking to a person from Boost BC, and they're potentially interested in trying out the alpha with us too, alpha beta with us. Yeah.
Perfect. Okay, great. Thanks, Sarah. We'll go on to the next.
All right, we have
I'll stop sharing.
Thank you. We have Wolf next. Sarab.
There. Let's see if I can get this. Here we are. You see my screen now?
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. Okay.
Wow. You've changed your model in the last couple of months for sure.
Yes, literally. So everyone is practicing social distancing, and we are all away from Hero City because we are afraid of transmitting germs to one another. I've been there a couple times over the last 6 weeks, and I guess there's 5 or 6 regulars. And so so I guess all of you are out. So the key thing we're afraid of is germs traveling from our mouths to one another. So we all are aware of the 6 feet no distancing where we keep apart from one another at Walgreens or what have you. It turns out 6 feet is not enough. It's sort of like masks probably, where germs will travel from beyond a 6 feet radius. Maybe if you sneeze, or these coronavirus things might travel and be light and actually hit people further out, maybe up to 26 feet. So about a month and a half ago, I said maybe we should reapply ourselves to some of with some of the distributed applied crypto things that we've learned in decentralized blockchain stuff to privacy preserving contact tracing. And so for about 6 weeks or 6 or 7 weeks now, we became pseudo experts at contact tracing and social distancing protocols, having done protocol development at Wolt for the last two some years. And just 10 or 11 days ago, it turned out that 1,000 maybe people who had been developing contact tracing procedures, Apple and Google themselves, in a very unusual move, basically adapted many of the things that these kinds of groups, including myself with one of them, to basically commit to collaborating to release a contact tracing protocol, probably almost certainly sometime in June or July. So many of the same techniques that are in the middle of this process can be used for social distancing protocols. And so the key idea behind both of these things, contact tracing and social distancing, is that everybody with a iOS or Android device who opts in, the idea, will broadcast sort of changing IDs. So if say if you have 4 people at Hero City and they are using a contact tracing or social distancing app, all these guys will be emitting Bluetooth low energy signals that change every 10 or so minutes, okay? So this is a big change. I said, oh my God, if big tech and big government are going to dominate this space, there's going to be no room or meaning for us, but I'm really happy they did, because they might be able to save some lives with this. So we decided to pivot only 10 days ago, so this is very fresh, none of like what some of you guys have done. So we pivoted to developing a social distancing network. So this is an idea very much in progress. So the key problem we're solving technically, it's not impossible, it's just one of those things you just have to get over with, is that you can map these Bluetooth low energy signals that all of us will be emitting, either through our social distancing apps or through the new contact tracing apps, and basically get really good or better robust distance estimators. So if I'm sitting over here at somewhere near the kitchen at Hero City, and Lisa and my office workers and Taito and everybody else around us, we can have an estimate that's improved despite all the noise that happens to be around us. And given good distance estimates between all of these broadcast signals, you can estimate social distancing scores, okay? So if you have bad social distancers, you would have low scores. Great social distancers, you would have high scores, and pretty much you can have natural things happen whenever somebody gets too close to you and enters into your sphere, so as to lower your social distances score somehow. You can have like buzzing going on, or notifications or alerts and what have you, right? So this is the app that we've been developing. It's all very, 10 to actually 3 weeks old now. So this is one of the screens. We're calling it the SD app until we have a better name, social distancing app. So it would show you who is nearby yourself, okay? So this is my daughter. So pretend you're this user. You're up at the top. You're 0 feet away from yourself. The people around you, who would typically be your coworkers in some environment like that, she would be able to say, oh, my social distancing score is around a 4. Here's a poor social distancer named Jonas. And if people can self-report that they might have some symptomatic problems, like say Michael here, who is who's normally sits next to me. If he feels sick, he can report that, right? You can see, so this person can see the distances in sort of real time, around 10 to 15 seconds, and everyone's aggregated social distancing score, right? And how everyone's feeling. So that's actionable from this user's point of view. And we're basically, we brought this sort of distance estimation to practice. We're doing Hadoop jobs and whatnot to compute these social distancing scores and putting it to good work, right? So our target customer is actually all of you, all right? So it would be free to everybody at Hero City. Our hope would be that Lisa and everybody, Jeanette and so on, would subscribe on behalf of Zero City and actually pay to ensure that all of us are practicing good social distancing. So this is a new idea, but I think it's super relevant for everybody who has a workplace environment. It could be applied equally to schools and colleges who want to make sure that people can go back to school safely, and just like us. We believe that a natural model in the economic environment that is free for everyone but paid for by native ads, sponsorships, just like you see in every other social network, and some combination of sponsorships and paid subscriptions would enable these kinds of native ad formats to be natural. So we are hard at work, furiously putting these things together. So we're building a robust distance estimator. This is our core problem of the week. We're actually feeding this data right into the social distance scoring metric system, figuring out the sort of UIs of what should happen when you click on some of those people to show you, what kind of collisions you have or why they got a certain social distance score. And we are proud to say that we have done enough work to at least be able to launch with in a June timeframe, alpha next month, and probably releasable with Apple and Google's contact tracing efforts. And our hope is that sometime this fall we can actually, if with a little bit of luck, we can ensure some safety, maybe save some lives, and do our part to avoid any kind of Great Depression that we want to avoid at all costs. So if you want to help me out, I would love to have you as a customer or as a user, and you can send me a note and I will be sure to tell all of you as soon as we have it available.
Yeah, it's great. I like that you guys are so quick to react to the problem and trying to solve it. But I always look at these things long term. And long term, this is a dystopian nightmare, at least for me, to be forced to be 6 feet away from everybody and be judged on how far away you are from people. I don't think it's healthy long term. I think it does solve a short term problem. And maybe we have these diseases that just keep coming. And if we give up our herd, the ability to defend against a disease as a herd, then these kinds of things are going to be really relevant. But, what kind of a world does that look like? And I think when you're starting a business and you're putting your life and your efforts and everything into it, you should think, what is it at the end? How does this look 10 years from now? And how do people live 10 years from now? And is it something you want to see? I like hugs too much for this.
So I don't know how to forecast any better than everyone else. It's the number one question on everyone's minds. When will this end? But the natural thing for this to evolve into, assuming the pandemic is over the summer, I don't know if that's likely or possible, but it's basically a Bluetooth low energy social network. So you can drop the SD social distancing aspect.
That's a question. Is there something else here? Like, is there a long-term application beyond this, like, quick, trendy, like we're going to fix something quick?
Right.
Is there a long-term trend where you can say, let me use this technology for something that is going to make the world better.
Yeah, I mean, this is the Minority Report sort of dream scenario, which you all are aware of. Beacons and Bluetooth Low Energy is not a new concept, but around 5 or 6 years ago, when this these stuff started happening, everyone imagined that you would walk by various things on 3rd Avenue, and you would have a beacon transmit ads, right? And so no one really wanted to download 1,000 apps for every retailer out there, right? From Noodleosophy to whatever. Noodles and things, so forth. So it's potential that there's an alternate business model for this kind of thing, where people would get targeted advertisements in their local neighborhood. So I wouldn't say it's totally failed, but it's been basically not successful because people don't want to get spammed by their local retailers. And so, assuming everything gets back to normal, 6 to 12 months from now, that's another business model, is that it would be an end-to-end encryption mechanism in a BLE-based social network.
Yeah, that sounds better to me. I'd rather get advertised to than be forced to be 6 feet from everybody forever.
It's decentralized, at least. It would be driven by the office managers rather than by the government. So you got to appreciate that.
I do.
Yeah.
Terrific. Any other questions? Here, let's keep moving. Who's up next?
Up next, we have JDX. So, Peter or Charles?
Hi, Charles.
Hello, this is Charles. Hi, can everybody hear me?
Yes. Okay.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Tim, Mara, for being part of this. I'd like to talk to you briefly about JX Coin. We are an asset-backed token, and we're backed by precious artifacts, the first of being white jade. So I've been involved with cryptocurrency chains since about 2015. I've got about 15 different projects I've been involved with, from either being the CEO or even a coder. Peter is president and CFO, and he's a serial entrepreneur, and he is the managing director of the Venture Capital Roundtable in Silicon Valley. So this is a picture from our website. I had the privilege of being on the NASDAQ Marketplace show in Fox Business, talking about why asset-backed is really a preferable way to go, because you're not just dealing with the technology or the platform like in Bitcoin, but you actually have verifiable assets that have values that's going to be appreciated. And we're going to talk about the collectible blockchain space. So our mission is to create an asset-backed ledger system, auction as a service platform, which is going to bring other collectible assets onto the blockchain, and a technology crypto hedge fund. Just briefly, our tech, we have an MVP, Dara Hashgraph testnet. We're Java, we have an Android wallet, and we utilize smart contracts and the Spring platform. What I'm really excited about to say is we're partnering with, co-developing with an unhackable technology for security called Accept. Accept has two patents, and they're granted, and we have the ITAR approval for that. So what that is the private keys in the wallet are going to be unhackable. Eventually, when we have our own exchange, the exchange will be virtually unhackable as well, using this new technology, which also can protect our card. So some of our features, for the auction, we have the on-chain provenance of the collectible, on-chain attestation of value. How? Because there's a dynamic bidding process that we're submitting a patent for, that will allow bids to come in. Once the verifiable bid comes in, we will mint that token for that asset or that group of assets right there. Okay, so that's a first as far as I'm aware. Our hedge fund enables tokenization for valuable projects and assets, and our card allows payments to be backed by real assets. So how do we make money? Well, the auction platform bidding process, we're going to get a percentage of the sales. With the payment card transactions, obviously we'll get fees for that, which we want to be significantly less than Visa. And our growth fund, people will pay us to list their projects, white papers, websites, IEOs, etc. And so Peter, through his Silicon Valley group, has about 12 projects already interested. So we're going to be listed on Binance Dex any day. And we've got an amazing 2,000 upvotes from the Binance community, which is really high. We've got some good amount of Telegram members. We're asking for money to continue on the enhancement of the MVP and for operations and marketing. We've already raised $500,000, mostly from Asian investors. And we will say that because it is our first group, we're tokenized, there's a lot of interest in this Jade. And also potential JV partners, offering tokens and equity. Our initial assets are 4 rare white jade pieces appraised at $100 million. Peter, would you tell us a little bit about the artifacts and the history of the Han Dynasty?
Yes, these 4 pieces are from the Han Dynasty, which is owned by Emperor Han, Han Wudi, which is one of the most successful emperors in the Chinese history. And so he invaded Xinjiang, a province in China, to acquire all these white jades and carve them into ceremonial instruments, as well as imperial symbolism, like dragons, phoenix, and even his imperial seals. So we have formed a partnership with the collectors of all these extremely rare and valuable artifacts to utilize them as the initial asset for backing our tokens.
Wonderful. Thank you. Here's some slides. We have 4 pieces. The first one's 10 million appraisal. The best appraisers are in China and Asia because they're the ones that know these pieces. We have a Phoenix for 20 million, a Phoenix Cauldron for 30 million, and the Great Dragon appraised at 40 million. And we have this is attestation of value, certification of value, as well as comparison with other pieces that have been auctioned off. And we want to interface with the Sotheby's, the bonds, the different online auction sites, and kind of enable them blockchain. So we have our blockchain as a service, which is a nice API we're going to externalize. My background is very technical. I actually developed the smart contracts for our products here, our MVP. Peter, tell us a little bit about the UnionPay partnership.
So we're engaged in conversation with UnionPay of China to allow their card to be used, worldwide. Currently, UnionPay only have 3% of all transactions, and mostly is dominated by Visa and MasterCard. So we are hoping that we will be the partner with UnionPay once our tokens are listed on one of the major exchanges.
Wonderful. And we're waiting on Binance listing, been waiting for a long time. It's because of the virus has put a kind of a monkey wrench there. And a little bit more about our auction platform and our growth fund. So here's our contact information. So thank you very much. Open it up for questions.
So there have been people who did this based on tying it to gold as an asset or tying it to oil as an asset. This just further complicates the thing, and I wonder if it makes sense to do that. And the gold and the oil cryptocurrencies have not been successful. Why is this going to be successful?
Hold on one second. My phone's ringing here. Because there's a need, Tim, in the classic art space to be able to bring provenance, to bring a tracking of identity, to bring, if you had 4 different paintings, which one is the real one? So we're going to allow attestation of value. And also we are allowing a dynamic bidding process that determines the up-to-date value of the pieces. So we're adding some additional technology to the auction in that space that we feel is valuable. It's not just a hunk of gold, right? It's a unique piece. And because we're tokenizing each piece individually, it allows the value of that piece to rise to the top. So we're not kind of down, doing like an average of thousands of pieces. So I think there's some interesting differences than just gold or silver, for example.
And will the tokens actually own the asset?
Yes.
They'll have a piece of that asset.
Yes.
I see. So you're going to go fractionalize the jade or whatever beautiful piece of art there is.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, this could be extended to Picasso painting, for example. And as they appreciate, usually a minimum 18% per year.
Terrific. Any other questions? Okay, we'll move on to our last one.
Thanks.
Yep, last but not the least, we have JC.
Oh, hi guys. I'm JC. Let me take off my mask. Hey, when is the last time you buy Bitcoin?
Hey, JC. Actually, I'm putting in an order now. Just dropped down to 6,500 or something.
So, with Move Block and Fluid Asia, you can grow your Bitcoin. So I'll let Carol do the pitch.
Okay, so I'll take over from here. We are Move Block Capital. We're digital asset investment solutions. And let me see if you can see the screen. Great. Here's the problem. Currently, there's a lack of secure investment vehicles for a new class of digital assets and its investors. And many of the investors are left without an avenue to safely leverage existing digital assets to create new wealth. And this is what we do. We provide secure digital asset management and strategies powered by machine learning and quantitative research and analysis. And how are we going to do it? Our expert team leverages years of compliance, KYC, AML, and the crypto market experience. And we have existing institutional relationships. We have advanced data analytics to build smart solutions for digital asset arbitrage and investment. And here is our team. We have Brian Doe. He is a mission-focused team leader. He's going to head our product development and an AML and compliance. JC is our head trader. He has built institutional relationships, and he's a Draper U alumni 2019. Yay! I'm Carol.
Absolutely. We remember him well.
Everything's awesome.
There we go. Carol, I'm a marketer and I'm a data analyst. And so I will head investment management and some product design. And Jesse, he is our strategic advisor, and he will be bridging our business logic and product development. And he has extensive ecosystem integration experience. And he's also in the blockchain space. And he's also a Draper University alumni, 2013. He's one of the earliest batches. So
all right. Wait,
there
I
you
didn't
go.
see.
We have half of the team from Draper.
Oh, that's right. I remember Jesse Phillips. Terrific. Good. Good for you guys. Glad you're sticking together.
Thank you. And then why Move Block? We follow compliance and a very strict risk management practice. So our investors' assets are securely and safely managed. We have a very strong track record. We are all also forward thinking. And we currently have 75 assets under our management. We very recently closed this contract with our very first customer. So it's very exciting for us. And we have definitely more ahead. This is our roadmap for 2020. We're definitely watching the COVID-19 situation to monitor its impact on our business. And currently, we're doing resilient, and then we're just going to do the best we can. So this is us. This is us, Move Block Capital. Thank you very much.
Okay, so how would this work? Okay, if I'm buying a bunch of Bitcoin, or I have a bunch of Bitcoin, and I want to put it to work, what do you do for me?
So we do quantitative trading and quantitative analysis to forecast the market trend and upcoming trend. And our main core business is arbitraging. So you have a country in one side have selling Like for example, in Vietnam, they're selling a premium. So we buy them cheap in US and sell for dong. And then we convert them to US dollars and we cycle over the time. It deal with bankings, but it's fully regulated. And we have Silvergate Bank. It's very hard to us to obtain a Silvergate Bank account. Yeah.
I see. So you would, what you would do is you'd say, oh, we can take this Bitcoin, we can sell it in Vietnam much more expensive. Then we can transfer the dong back to US dollars for you. And we can keep doing that over and over and over until Vietnam and the US have about the same price. And then you go, but now we can go to the Philippines and we can do the same thing again.
But
is the difference still big? I remember India was willing to pay about twice as much for a Bitcoin that the US was paying. But I don't think that's the case anymore.
It's still big, and with technologies and everything like RFQ and API trading, it can reach up to 6 trades per second. Where our manual we are doing right now is just human beings doing the maths. So with quantitative trading, we can excel and further with the investment of the tech.
So if I said, here, JC, take $100,000 worth of Bitcoin, you would then turn it into dong and then bring it back to the US in dollars and then buy Bitcoin again and do it again. Is that the idea?
Now, yes, as for now is about $100 per Bitcoin gap.
Okay, so you just do it over and over and over, and then what kind of a return do you get me, and then what do you take for it?
The minimum is 0.2 per trade, or 0.4. So is around that area. The max is can be 3 to 8%. It varies between the market.
Annual return.
For annual return, the APR can reach up to 30%.
Last year we did 100.
Are you and this this is your commission, or is this the commission that you have to pay?
This is our profit. Our profit is around 0.2 20 bips per trade. So if you accumulate that 1 month, if you deal with the banking regulations, is about 24 days. So it multiplies, and if that works it out well, that is about 2.4% for per month, or even more than that. It varies, depends on market. But if market crash, we deal with institutions, so we don't go through the exchange itself. It doesn't really affect the Bitcoin price and up and down, because we are institution trading. And we have achieved a past record. After I graduated from Draper University, I'm able to obtain a Silvergate Bank account, and the volumes looks amazing.
And so you've been doing this with this $75,000. How's that going?
We just started a reboot on the 75K on the USDT Tether. So this was an investment coming from a single person, that which says, hey, I love your fund, and it is doing great, because we passed this guy, we took about 30K USDT, and we show them some results, and he's coming back again. There's a retention. So the 75K was sitting down there, and we are looking for a gap. So if there isn't any gap, we can use technologies like API tradings, do micro tradings in quantitative ways.
Yeah, we believe the value of data, besides obviously if you are interested in doing business, and we are definitely, 100K is great. 100K worth of Bitcoin is even better. But if you have access to data in different exchanges across the different crypto markets, I think I'm talking to any one of you here, if you think you have access to that, or if you're interested in collaborating, we can definitely, connect further offline or via emails after this. So yes, feel free to talk to us after.
Great.
Terrific. Great. Hey, this was fun, guys. We should do this more often.
Yeah, this is a wrap. I thought I'd take this chance to give everyone some feedback as a group. So I'm going to keep this very short, right? And we have done this quite a bit at Draper University. So I noticed 6 things today, right? The first one is the goal for these kind of very short pitches is always to get the next meeting, right? So you have to set up a very tangible goals that you want to achieve. So how do you get the next meeting from whoever you're talking to, right? So you want to have some sort of inspiring story that gets people excited, especially at the early stage, right? Second thing, once you have that inspiring story, I want you to think of a very clear, you can think of it as a one-liner or elevator pitch, very short, so it's easy for people to remember, right? And I want you to start saying that in the beginning, in the middle of the pitch, and at the end, just in case the judges or whoever you're talking to were not listening. So you could catch them, the probability of being caught is a little bit higher, right? And then the next one is actually very important. We oftentimes get pressure into these, hey, you got 2 minutes, you got 3 minutes, or this person is in a hurry. We have a tendency to speak faster to fit our story into that window. And that's actually not the right way to do it. What you want to do is you want to do the homework up front. Think about the shortest sentence you could fit into that window. So you kind of know, if I have 1 minute, this is the pitch. I got 10 minutes, this is the pitch. I got an hour, it's a different pitch. So you want to do that exercise up front. Last but not least, in the coronavirus environment, so remember this. So we've been through this cycle. This is not the first time, right? You want to adjust your pitch so you have a cash flow break-even plan. I'm not saying you got to raise enough money in this round to get to cash flow positive. But in your mind, we want to see a captain of the ship that kind of knows where the true north is, right? So yeah, so this stage may take you to, Series A, but then after Series A, what happens? This is what we'll do to break even, okay? And then I do want to share a little something I wrote when I was listening to you. It is an inspiring group. So I want to wish everyone to code as efficiently as Basit.ai and live as mindfully as mindful text and as carbon neutral as negative, and wish you to acquire your customer as efficiently as Spyglass and Tribal, and communicate as effectively as Phone IC, and have as much fun as Cloudless, and pivot as nimbly as Woke, and tokenize your asset as securely as JDX, and create as much profit as Move Block. And on that last note, most importantly, I want you guys to stay as healthy as an ox.
This is Tarek. I'm gonna take this part, put it on our website, and then quote you on this. Actually, this is amazing. Thank you so much. I love it.
Love it, Andy. That was fun.
Very fun. Thank you.
You all.
Thanks, Mara. That was terrific.
Thank you, Mara. Thank you, Lisa.
And
Thank you,
Lisa and Jeanette. I hope you enjoyed it.
Thanks, Dan. Good job.
Thanks, guys.
All right. Thank you.
Much. Take care.
Bye.
And if anybody want to play games with us, just let me know. We're always open.
Yeah, you got 2 kids. They're ready to play.
Yeah, so I have a 11-year-old and a 2-year-old, and 2-year-old actually recently started D&D with us. So we do this as a whole family.
Great. I will email you. We got a 6 and a 9-year-old. They're home all the time, so we'd love to do something.
We're actually doing D&D with kids online if your kids are interested.
Yeah, okay, I'll email you. I think
Can you actually share some information? I have